And so, we know that influencer marketing has taken off. eMarketer says over 70% of organizations are now leveraging some type of influencer marketing, and the investment in influencer marketing will be over $7 billion by 2024. So that's great, right? So what's the problem? Well, the challenge, I think, as we think about this, is where influence is shifting. Because what we see overwhelmingly, as every study has done about this, is that consumers are growing tired and skeptical of all of their social feeds being inundated with people trying to sell them something. 4 years ago, when that was a new thing, it was really different. But at this point, we have to wonder where this is going. Nearly everything in every format in your typical social feeds is it has people trying to sell you something. So, and for me personally, I see that when I'm on certain platforms and I'm scrolling, it's people that I follow are posting on behalf of brands, and I think that can be effective to some point, but there is a shift going on, and when I think about this shift, I've had this conversation with people who say, well, what about younger people? Younger people, that's what they want. I'm like, well, maybe, but the data shows that even younger audiences have a pretty minimal trust in social influencers because they know how much they're getting paid. And this study from Civic Science suggests that only 9% of people under the age of 25 inherently trust social influencers. And to be fair, 37% are neutral, so that's not no. Where is this going? I mean, I would argue that trust is alive and well, but it's shifting into a different place than it was 4 or 5 years ago, which makes sense. So a couple examples. Who's familiar with this Wall Street Bets story? This was a story, this is a story on Reddit, and it's kind of a Wall Street Bets. It got a lot of publicity. It's sometimes people conflate this with Reddit and influence, and it's not even one of our top 20 communities size-wise on Reddit. But the story essentially goes like this. There were a bunch of Wall Street banks that were shorting stocks of a number of companies, and they were actually shorting a number of shares of stock more than even existed in the company. And a bunch of retail investors, people like you and me on Reddit and Discord, decided, hey, if we all go buy those stocks, it's going to put those banks in kind of a tough spot and maybe save those companies. And then that happened. And if you want to know more about that, there's a documentary on Netflix about that. But this is just an example of influence that happens online and with online communities today. And I'll share something that's even more relatable to us. Through the lens of finance, the finance space. So if you were to take out your phone now, you can do this if you want, or you don't have to, and you open Instagram and you start to make a post, and you start the post with your name and then your age and your income, and then you type in are you married? Do you still plan to be married 10 years from now? You would never do that on Instagram, right? You would never post any of that. But on communities like Reddit, people are doing that every single day. Because of the anonymous nature on the platform, they're doing that in so many different communities that they're giving each other advice and places to look and to help them with planning their financial future. And we see this trust also happening in different categories, whether it's beauty or, honestly, across a lot of B2B marketing categories as well. B2B categories of people just sharing information about what products to buy for their companies. The trust is there because the responses and the interactions are very personal. On other platforms, on TikTok, you might have something like that, but it's a one-to-many discussion. Whereas in a community like Reddit, you might say, hey, I need some advice on this, or need some help on this, and it's really many to one coming in and giving you advice, and people almost debating which advice you should be taking. It's a very different distinction.